So I hope you can see me all right and that you can see the screen as well. So I'm Barbara and I'm a lecturer in film and visual culture, and I also teach in Spanish department. I'm Spanish myself, so I'm going to be talking about identities and cultural heritage, especially looking at popular culture in Spain. So to give you a little of background about what we are going to be looking at today, it's mainly about the background of this festive period in the Spanish region or country, and how we can represent all these ideas of Spanishness and Christmas heritage, and also the different identities that there are in the Christmas celebrations, and also some practices that are currently going on. So to start off, I think it's important to mention this, and also because it's different and also in different countries as well. So in Spain, we have a 2-week period of Christmas, and last 2 weeks, as I said, and it starts on Christmas Eve, and that's the 24th of December, as you may know, and also is the big day for us. We have a big dinner in Christmas Eve, and this is the big day for us in our celebration. It's the first day, and also I'm going to be talking a little bit later about the last day of this Christmas period. Also, of course, we do celebrate the 25th of December. It's Christmas Day, but it's just a little bit low key in comparison with Christmas Eve. Then we have New Year's Eve and New Year, and also Epiphany Day, which is something that not many countries do, and it's probably one of the most important things we do in Spain as well. So it's worth to remember that Christmas celebrates some religious event that I'm going to be introducing in a moment, and also that Spain is a very religious country. Officially, it shouldn't be a religious country because it's not like that in the legislation and constitution, but because we lived 40 years of dictatorship leading to a very religious state, that traditional values at some point they are still in place in our culture, and it's very reflected during Christmas as well. So this is the timeline for our festivities. As I said, it starts on the 24th of December with Christmas Eve, big celebration. We have 25th of December, Christmas Day, and then the 28th of December, we have this festivity that is not so much celebrated nowadays. It's called Santos Inocentes. Is what it would be April's Fools here. So we do this kind of jokes to people, and it was bigger a few years ago, but somehow nowadays it's just not as important. Then we have New Year's Eve on the 31st of December, 1st of January is New Year's Day, and then, as I said earlier, Epiphany Eve, the 5th of January, and then Epiphany Day, the 6th of January. And it's loading. Yes, so as I said, what do we celebrate during Christmas? It's important to remember that we actually, well, every country that actually celebrates Christmas, we all celebrate the birth of baby Jesus, even though people are not religious or they don't really follow these strict religious guidelines or rules. But the origin of Christmas is to celebrate the history of the birth of baby Jesus. And this is celebrated differently for very religious people because they do all this celebration in masses, churches, but in popular culture, and that is probably something that we almost all of us here do, the idea of religion has been lost. So that's why I thought it was important to remember that this is a religious celebration. I think the slides are taking a little bit too long. Well, so Of course, Christmas is also the history of our representation. We are trying to represent that idea of baby Jesus and what happened after his birth and the different ways of representing it. We have music. We all celebrate of this kind of representations in one way or another. So we have music, art. We do decorations at home as well, and also in the city, in our streets. And also there are other cookery or other traditions that are also being modified or are being developed differently in different places, and also because we have different cultural backgrounds. This is something I'm going to be talking about too today. So to start off about the representations, we have music. And in Spain, this Christmas music we call villancicos. And they are actually Christmas carols. And they have very religious roots. And they are talking about biblical passages, visiting baby Jesus, what happened with the shepherds, with everyone who was involved in that special event. So, of course, nowadays we have all these big hits, Christmassy big hits from Maria Carey and all that things coming from different countries. But if you go along the streets, any city in Spain, all you can hear, because we have all the speakers, phones, and everything put in the streets, all you can hear are villancicos, and they are very traditional, and people are still participating in that because it's part of the identity of Spanish identity during Christmas. However, there are other representations as well when looking at music and Christmas in Spain. So we have this, what we is called the Song of the Sibyl, and it's celebrated in Mallorca. And it happens on the 24th of December. There's a big mass on the 24th of December, and it's talking about the apocalypses and what's going to be happening if we all behave bad, and so on. It's a beautiful representation. It's a choir, but also it's a very performativity idea of this passage. And now we have other representations more attached to popular culture. And these are happening, for example, the zambombas in Cádiz. Actually, the zambomba is this musical instrument that you can see these three men playing. And then we have also the campanilleros choirs in Sevilla, and are all this group of kids singing. But in any case, they are still singing villancicos, our Christmas carols, but they are represented in a very different way. Regarding to art, next time you go to a museum, try to look out for all these Christmassy elements that are part of paintings or even sculptures, and not just in the Spanish setting, because Christmas is also rooted in art and religion, and also because Christmas has this big connection with religion. Religion was one of the main topics for art before the 18th century. And also there are a lot of biblical representations. So Christmas was already, and of course, part of these representations. So you have here three different paintings from three different centuries, and from different countries as well. Well, one from Spain, El Greco. Actually, he was Greek, but he spent all his career in Spain. And then two from Italy, another religious country that celebrates Christmas very similarly as we do in Spain. But what we are seeing is the same scene. So they are representing the same idea. And it's actually the moment that Jesus was born, and how all the shepherds and everyone was adoring him, because they knew that he was someone important. So one of the big, let's say, characters for our Christmas in Spain are Los Reyes Magos, which in English translates as the three wise men. This is like the adaptation of these people, because they weren't regular men, they were kings, and that is Reyes in Spanish. They were kings. So they all came, there were three of them, and they came from different parts of the world. And their aim was to adore and to visit baby Jesus and also to bring him presents. So there were three of them: Melchor, Gaspar, and Baltasar. And they actually represent the three ages of humankind and also three different parts of the world: Europe, Asia, and Africa. So this actually is one of the big things that we have in Spain. And according to not just a Spanish background, but as you can see, this has been going on since even the 6th century. But it is now in Spain because it's not celebrated in other parts of the world. In some places in Latin America, they still do it, but not, for example, in Italy, they don't celebrate it. So these three wise men arrived during the night of the 5th of January to Belém. That's where baby Jesus was born, Belém. That was a small town in Jerusalem, or just outside Jerusalem. And they brought him presents, different presents. So that is why in Spain, we actually wait until the 9th of the 5th of January, or even the 6th of January, to receive presents. Of course, some people nowadays receive presents from Santa Claus, but traditionally we don't. And still, in some houses, for example, in my house, we don't open any presents until the three wise men come on the night of the 5th of January. And also, in order to receive them, in every single town in Spain, there's a big parade to see them. And also because kids believe they are real, they are very excited, as you would be with Santa Claus here, for example, in the UK and other parts of the world. I just said that baby Jesus was born in Belém, in this small place. So also another thing that we do differently in Spain is to have this representation of this small town. And there are like small figures that we put usually next to our entrance of the house or even the living room. And it could be as big as you would like. And of course, there's little figures that maybe differ in different regions. For example, in Catalonia, they have this odd figure that is called the Caganer, and it represents a shepherd that went to visit baby Jesus and needed a toilet, as simple as that. But why Catalonian people have this figure in their Belén? Because it represents fertility. So it's something that every Belén in Catalonia would have, and it's part of their identity because it doesn't really exist anywhere else in other parts of Spain. I was talking about Epiphany Day and how the 6th of January is the day we receive presents. Well, there's another costume during that day, and we have this cake that we call roscón or roscón de Reyes because it comes with the three wise men. So we also need to choose a member of the family to be the king of that day. So how do we do that? Well, we have small figures hidden inside the dough. One would be a bean, and the other one would be something more special. So if you find a bean, you will have to pay for the cake. Traditionally, of course, people don't actually follow that rule. But if you find a small figure of a king or something special like that, you will be crowned queen or king of the day. But they take this very seriously in some region or some city in Spain, and that is in Navarra. So in Navarra, in the north of Spain, next to the Basque country, they actually do a proper coronation of the king. So they have a parade, and it's usually, as you see on screen, it's carried out by kids, but it's like a big day for them. And as I said, we don't do this in Asturias, they don't do this in Madrid, but this is something that it's another part of the festivities in Navarra. And it's quite important as well to understand that in Spain we have different regional identities because there's a rich diversity in Spain. Because before Franco came into scene, we had different dialects, languages, and of course, we have different backgrounds. So from Celt traditions in the north to Muslim traditions in the south. But this was banned for 40 years during the dictatorship. But when the democracy came back in 1977 and with the constitution in 1978, we had freedom at last, and we had legal status for these comunidades autónomas or autonomous communities or regions. So each different regions would be revamping their traditions, their local traditions and the regional traditions. So I'm gonna put you some examples here. So I said a little earlier that we don't have really Santa Claus, but in some different regions, they will have these figures or these characters that would bring presents, not just presents, but more like sweets to the kids on the night of the 24th instead of Santa Claus. So we have in the Basque country the Olentzero. It's the same idea. It's an old man living in the mountains that would be in sweets to the kids. Then in Asturias, we have Langulero. And in this case, it's not someone living in the mountains, it's a fishmonger or someone dedicated to fish catching at sea. So you can see that all these different men, they are rooted in the identities of each one of these regions. Lesteru in Cantabria, it's also a shepherd that it's bringing some sort of small presents to small kids. In Galicia, we have the Pandingueiro, and you can see the representation is very, very similar to Santa Claus, but in more a traditional way. In Seville, there's the Tientapanzas. Oddly, in Catalonia, they have a very different representation. So we come from all these old men bringing sweets to the kids to Tío de Nadal, which actually means Christmas uncle in Spanish. And they have this in Catalonia. So it's actually a wooden stick with a hat, a face, as you can see on screen. And in Aragon, they have this tradition of having La Tronca de Navidad, which is again a big stick made of wood, but it's actually empty on the inside. And on the night of the 24th, a lot of sweets come out of it. Then there are all the different traditions that they are not actually related to bringing presents or bringing sweets, but they are more like parades or cultural presentations. For example, we have this in Zamora, and they are called zangarrones, mascaradas, or carochos. It's a costume parade that happens on the 25th of December, and the carochos come out on New Year's Day. So there are all different representations, and actually people from different regions wouldn't haven't heard of these other people, for example. And of course, popular culture comes and is not so rooted on this religious background. So we have other traditions that have been growing over time. For example, relating to food, this is something common to all Spain as a whole of a country. For example, we have these special, very special sweets that are turrón, polvorón, and mazapan, and they are all made of almonds in different shapes and forms and consistencies and textures, but they are all made of almonds, and we only have them during Christmas. Actually, all over the year, it's very difficult for you to find this kind of sweets in any shop. And while researching, it's difficult to understand where it actually came from. So some people, some researchers say that the source is actually from the Arabs that were in Spain for many centuries, especially in the south of Spain. And because they created the nougat, and it's actually the turrón is quite similar to nougat. But other sources, they said that the actual origin is from Barcelona, in Catalonia, as you may know, because a guy named Turró, a baker, a pastry chef named Turró, did this special sweet. So it's very difficult to try to understand where it actually comes from. Probably, I would say it's a mixture of the two. Then we have this other tradition, and it's not rooted in religion, it's just part of popular culture. And for many people, this day, the 22nd of December, is the actual start date of the period. And it's a national Christmas lottery, and it's celebrated all across Spain. There's a huge presence of this event in television and all the media. And if you switch on your television on the 22nd from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m., all you can see on the screen is a national Christmas lottery. Regardless of how many channels we have, each one of them would be broadcasting this event. And we have a famous advert every year. And there's a lot of thought put into it. It's very aesthetic. It's like the John Lewis advert here in the UK, but with the National Christmas Lottery. And the prices are very, very diverse. They go from €1,000 to €3 million. And so a lot of people are paying a lot of money to buy their tickets for this lottery every year. Then we have the San Silvestre, which is a 5K race. Well, of course, there's different distances, but the most common one is 5K. And it's traditionally run on New Year's Eve. And it's celebrated in every single very small town in Spain. However, the most famous one happens in one of the neighborhoods in Madrid, Vallecas, but it's also celebrated in other places in Latin America. And actually, the 31st of December, New Year's Eve, is the San Silvestre's Day. So that's why it's called San Silvestre. Again, there's another religious reference there, even though we don't celebrate it looking at the saint, but also doing something else instead. And then there's the way we end the year is with, of course, New Year's Eve, but we have a very different way of celebrating it. So we have the 12 grapes of luck. And basically, we eat 12 grapes, each one with every strike of the bell. And it's a famous bell in Madrid, in Puerta del Sol. And we have one grape for each one of these bell strikes, because each strike represents 1 month of the year. So it's 12 months, 12 grapes. And it means that if you manage to eat all of them in time, you're going to have good luck for the whole following year. And again, this is a big event. Each channel will have their own runners of the show. And it's a very, very dispute day in terms of getting the audience. So, of course, all these different channels will try to get as many attention as possible. And to just end this presentation, I wanted to talk about some superstitions that we have. And they are mostly related to the new year. So, for example, we have to wear new clothing on New Year's Eve because it will provide luck for the following year. And then if the number of guests at the table is odd, an additional empty utensil is put on the table, or a vase with money is put at the center of the table. This is something that not all people do, but for example, the new clothing is something that we all do. Also use new lingerie of the red color, we mostly do. And then we have this, put something gold into the glass with champagne in order to do the toast. This is something very common as well. And in every year, a lot of people are doing this more and more. So you have to come out of the threshold with a suitcase, even if it's empty, because it will mean you're gonna be traveling a lot the following year. And that has been me. Thank you for coming, and Merry Christmas.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. That was so interesting. You'll be pleased to hear we've already got questions coming in. So we'll just get kicked off with those. So the first question is, do you think regional differences are disappearing as Christmas becomes standardized around the image of Father Christmas and the arrival of the Coca-Cola truck?
So to be honest, in Spain, I think has been differently because even though we all adapt these consumer society ideas, the Coca-Cola truck, Father Christmas, we are adapting to this, but people are wanting more and more that their identity, the regional identity, is more represented. So this is done with the regional TV programs and TV channels because they speak their own language or dialect and they have their own representations as well. So people are wanting that more and more, which is something that we'd be probably shocked by the globalization that we are all living in, but people are wanting to go back and embrace their own culture.
Super, thank you very much. The next question is, did people continue some of their traditions in secret during the dictatorship? And how quickly did these traditions return or revive after the end of it?
Yes, I would say, of course, they were hiding it because, for example, if you were caught speaking a dialect or a different language that was not Spanish, you would be punished. You would be put in jail. So people were hiding it. And the Constitution came in 1978, and the first televisions would come around the 80s, very early in the 80s. So it was very quick that people again wanted to embrace their own identity, especially because they were refused to do so for so many years that probably they say, no, now I want to do it. I want to go back to it.
Super, thank you. I'm going to read the next two questions because they're kind of related. So the first is, are the king cake and the El Roscon related? The king cake is in the same shape, has a plastic baby Jesus found in it, and whoever gets it in their slice has to pay for next year and is the king for the day. And then Chloe also said, maybe some of our friends in the chat can also help with this, but I'm aware of the cake with the coin token and the person finding it being crowned king existing in France as well. Do you know if this is popular in other European countries?
So I'm not sure that it's if it's popular in other European countries, but I found similar traditions regarding food and especially sweets, not just about Christmas, but other more religious ideas. For example, I found out lately that Pancake Day that's celebrated here, we don't celebrate it in Spain, but we have a similar shaped sweet that has its roots in religion and is celebrated in the same day, which is quite shocking because we usually think that what we do is quite unique, but it's widespread around the world, even though with different names. So it's probably a connection, of course.
Mm-hmm. And Elise also said the king cake is a big Louisiana tradition, and I'm assuming it's so because of its French roots. Um,
Yes.
we've had someone else say, really interesting talk, thanks. Any chance of a similar talk about Easter traditions?
I wouldn't mind, to be honest. And I know we have, like, again, very religious traditions around Easter. And though they're quite different from the ones in the UK, they are still related.
Okay. I've got one. Just remember everybody that you can access the chat by clicking the little purple icon at the bottom of the screen and then clicking the speech bubble. So if you've got any questions or comments, you're very welcome to put them in there. I'm just going to ask you, are there any of the traditions that you spoke about today, something that you've practiced in your family when you were growing up?
Oh, of course. The roscon, it's something that we do every year. And since I'm living here, we don't have any roscon here. We cannot go to Tesco and buy a roscon. So I started to bake in my own, and it's quite difficult. But I really enjoy it. And all the traditions that I showed today, I'm from Asturias. So we don't do the Caganer or other things, but we do the rest. We practice it. And the Belen is something that I usually do with my family. We still have a Christmas tree, but the Belen is the main representation of Christmas for us.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, I'm in a small town near Barcelona just now. I'm going to butcher this, I'm sorry. I love Cagotio and the Caganer. Sometimes the Caganer can be famous politicians, e.g. Donald Trump or Angela Merkel. Have you seen this too?
Yes, yes. My intention it was actually put some of these new representations in the PowerPoint, but I said, okay, I'm gonna just leave it more traditionally. But yeah, I saw that they are adapting the traditions to new identities and new representations, and it's also quite interesting to do so.
Great, thank you. Oh, someone else saying thank you very much for an interesting insight into Spanish traditions at Christmas and New Year. Would you be interested in explanation of these traditions too? So I think that is definitely something people would like to hear
Yes.
about.
Okay, let's do it.
Are there any other questions or comments? Oh, here we go. Amanda says, hi, Barbara. That was really interesting. And here in France, the galette filled with marzipan is eaten on the 6th, and the miniature figure inside allows those who find it to be crowned.
Yeah, there's a strong connection between Spain and France, so they're all related.
Okay. And the next question is, are there traditional main dishes eaten at this time?
I would say that also differs between regions. The most common thing in Spain is to have this turrón, mazapan, polvorón, which is all made of almond, and then the roscón. Because all across Spain, you have different foods depending on what's given the source. For example, in Asturias, because we're on the coast, we have a lot of seafood. And of course we have like very copious dinner with 5 dishes. So we eat a lot, probably too much during this time, but there's not like a common dish, I would say, apart from the sweets.
I would say that I think everyone eats way too much at this time of year. So the next question is, does Santa Claus bring presents to your children?
Nowadays he does, yes, more and more. So kids are very lucky because they get presents during Santa Claus and the three wise men. This is something I never did in my house, and now with my partner we don't do it. So we just go straight to the three wise men. Also because my birthday is on the 30th of December, so it could be probably too many presents for me. Never too many, but you know what I mean.
That's fair. The next question is, have any regions ever adopted some of the traditions from other regions?
I'm not aware of adopting, but some regions, because they are very close to one another and because they have a common heritage. For example, I would say Catalonia, Aragon, and Comunidad Valenciana, they share some traditions, I would say. So in other parts of Spain as well, like the Basque country and Navarra, they are very close. They have very common backgrounds. So even they are not adopting, they still share some of these traditions.
Super, thank you. And the next question is, do you watch the annual Christmas advert, the one for the lottery?
Uh, yes, but it's quite sad sometimes. So I try to avoid it. It's quite emotional. They always try to do so, and I don't feel I don't want to be too emotional, so try to avoid it.
That's fair. The next question is, you talked of traditional songs for Christmas, Barbara. Did they survive in regional dialects?
Yes, yes, they did, and especially in languages like Catalonia, they do a lot of Catalonian singing instead of the Spanish version. But yeah, they did survive, and there's yeah, people still want to do it more and more, and they try to sing in different languages. For example, my mom sings in a choir, and last time she performed a song in Zulu, which is very far from Spain, and she had no idea what she was saying, but it's part of a different tradition, bringing again to a different background, and still people are enjoying it because they can recognize that musicality as Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Amanda's also asking, can we find them on YouTube?
Probably, yes. Yeah, if you put Villancico, I'll just write it down for you.
Thank
You
you.
can find it.
There you go. Thank you so much. We've got plenty of time if there's any other questions. I'll give everyone just a little moment. Where are you going to be spending Christmas this year, Barbara?
I'm going back to Spain during
Yeah,
the Christmas holidays. Yes.
good, excellent. Oh, another question. Do you know if some of these traditions are alive in Central and South America?
Yes. So I've been some friends from Argentina, Venezuela, and they actually have different traditions as we do. For example, Argentinian people, they have more similar traditions to Italian people because they don't do the three wise men. Instead, they have like a witch. I forgot the name. Sorry. They have like a witch coming on that day and bringing sweets to the kids. Uh, and then in Venezuela, they actually celebrate baby Jesus. They give presents on the 24th and they call it baby Jesus. So, yeah, the traditions are quite the same, but still they have their particularities. So probably they adapt their own identity.
Okay, the next one is, do you send cards?
Actually, we don't. We don't have this costume.
No.
No, it's more like a UK thing. And I really like sending cards, but people in Spain didn't do it.
Chloe's suggesting alumni tour of Spain with Barbara. Does that sound good, everyone?
Yeah, let's go. Why not?
It certainly would be nice to escape the snow today, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Next question is, sounds like I need to visit, so they're just saying, sorry, sounds like I need to visit each Spanish area to sample the different traditions. Lots to enjoy. Excellent presentation. There you go. And that's
Thank you.
Amanda saying yes, please, to the tour. Amanda, you've said for the 6th, but I'm not sure what that was in relation to because we have moved on a little bit. If you've got a question relating to that, please feel free to type it in and we can get it answered before we wrap up. Oh, the cards. You're saying for the cards.
No,
No,
no cards
no.
at
Okay.
all. Not for the 6th or not for saying Merry Christmas even on the
Right.
24th.
Okay. Um, is that it? Are we? Oh, here we go. When did most of these traditions originate, time period wise?
Well, actually, they have different time frames. For example, the 12 grapes of luck, it was in the 19th century. And it was just because there was a big production of grapes that year and they needed to distribute that. So it's not actually something, I don't know, very identitarious, but it is part of Spain now. And then the bringing presents to the kids, I don't know, but the three wise men were in the maps in the since yeah the first century. They came to visit baby Jesus, so it was there all along. And I would say that some villancicos, for example, they were promoted during the dictatorship time in order to again promote religion to people and especially to kids because they have this childlike sound that is very appealing to kids. So it's probably a focus to rich kids, probably. Yeah.
Super, thank you. Next question is, do you have musical or theatrical events?
Yes. So we have, especially around the between the 20th and the 24th, we have choirs singing. We have performances as well, like in theaters. Especially small towns would have like a group of people, amateurs doing their own thing. And actually, for the Belén, we have live Belens, and that would be people dressed up like the Holy Family and shepherds coming to visit baby Jesus. So people actually are dressed up like that, and they do the representation on the streets and also in proper theaters. Yeah.
I've actually got a question I love to ask people that aren't actually from the UK. Have you ever been to a pantomime here?
Yes. Yeah. It's
Well,
very good.
did you enjoy it? Yeah, it can be a bit hit
Yeah.
or miss, I think, with people, but I love it.
It's very good. Yeah.
Next question is, sorry if you mentioned this, but apart from the cakes, are there any? Oh, it's the traditional main meals part, and she's saying also for the Spanish tour, she's going to sign up for that as well. But I think we've covered the meal part. There's depends on different regions and
Yeah. 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 I would say the only common thing is the sweets.
yeah,
Hmm.
great. Thanks, June. Um, I think I keep thinking that that's it, and then someone sneaks in with another question. So this is you've got a chance still, everyone. If you've got anything else you'd like to ask, still some time. That's it. Okay, I think we will wrap it up there. Oh, that's Katrina saying it's so fascinating and learned so much. Thank you. It was absolutely fascinating. It was so interesting. I love hearing about all the different things that people do in different countries for Christmas, because it can be so similar and then so vastly different as well. So it was really, really interesting.
Thank you.
So a huge thank you to you, Barbara, for giving us your time this afternoon and for that fantastic presentation. And then a big thank you to everyone here as well who's joined us and given up some of the time that they've got today to sit with us and hear all about this. Oh, we've got one quick question from Amanda saying, what do you drink at Christmas?
So we usually, well, that would really depend as well, because I'm from Asturias and it's very, it's a region where we drink a lot of cider. It's different from the cider what we have here, but it's like, it could be a cider that has these sparkling bits.
Okay.
But in other places they would drink cava or champagne. Similar, everything's similar to prosecco, like a very sparkling, bubbly drink.
Yes, a celebration type drink.
Yeah.
Super. Right. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Barbara, and thank you everyone for joining us. We will have more online events in 2023, so we'll hope you'll come back and join us for those. So just keep your eyes peeled for emails coming out, and enjoy the rest of your evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you in 2023. Thanks, everyone.